Hey everyone, Chen here, bringing you guys another video. Today we are going to start our itemization guides for Akshan. Obviously, this is very important. This is a very important time for Akshan because the item change hit. There's a whole bunch of new items for Akshan to try, and no one really knows exactly what is the most optimal, what is the best, stuff like that. So in this video, I am going to give you my top 3 Akshan builds currently as of the time of recording this, which is basically patch, I believe, 13.11, with 13.12 coming just around the corner with the upcoming RFC nerfs, upcoming Gale Force nerfs. So that's why both of those are not included in this video, right? These 3 will be up to date in the sense that if you build it next patch, I believe they're still going to be good, right? Another thing I want to quickly mention is the item changes allowed Akshan to be insanely flexible despite a lot of his core component builds compared to previously with no item change being generally nerfed. For example, if you go on hits, if you go crits, they are generally nerfed comparatively, just fundamentally speaking, using math, they are genuinely nerfed compared to pre-item change to now Akshan, which is one thing I want to note. Why I'm saying this is because with that being nerfed, they introduce a lot of flexibility, right? So if you go, for example, Yumu's still, if you go Dustblade, Eclipse, whatever, it's not necessary to say they're suboptimal. There's still a lot of testing to be done. These are just personally my top three builds. And yeah, we're going to start off with the first one. I want to quickly mention they are not fully optimized. For example, in this one, the third best build, in my opinion, it's not fully optimized. I do believe Kraken into Trinity Force is slightly better, but Yamato obviously goes for this because he wants the movement speed, stuff like that. So for all of these, I have a clip, and I'll briefly explain pros and cons, stuff like that. Let's watch the clip first.
Alright, let's see how much damage I do. I'm just gonna yellow it. Oh my god, you guys see that movement speed, by the way? You can't kill me, I'm fucking tank shot. Wait, this build is fucking cracked to the Wazoo Gaming.
Alright, so as you saw, that play was honestly kind of crazy. I don't know if you guys saw the Fizz dodge on his ulti. Went a little bit crazy. I don't think I could have done that with Kraken, to be honest. I think maybe Stormazer proc there, or, you know, Fleet proc there, stuff like that. There's a lot of movement speed amplifier going on in this build, so we'll start off with the pros and cons. Pros, you're building Trinity Force, right? Okay, let me actually backtrack a little bit and tell you what the actual build is. I'll do that for all of these. You start with Stormazer, Tier 2 boots, Trinity Force, Collector / Kraken, into BT is what currently I believe Yamato's going. But basically, you just want to understand the core, Stormazer, Try, and then that's basically the core, and then you can kind of build whatever, right? After that, generally, Akshan, you can kind of just build whatever. So, Stormazer, Try is the core. Pros. It is extremely, extremely mobile. You're getting a lot of amplifier from Stormazer, you're getting Trinity Force amplifiers, and you are going to be moving fast. Also, Yamato likes to go it with Fleet, so that is another kiting mechanism added on to the build. Alright, another pro. You are going to be tankier. This build allows you to be tankier comparatively to other builds, where Akshan really cannot go tank, or he loses a lot of damage, right? Another part of that is he can also slot in Black Cleaver. For example, Stormazer Trinity Force Black Cleaver could easily be viable, and you are going to have roughly, I believe, 2.5k HP. I mean, it depends, but you're going to be tankier, right? So for example, if you're into a lot of assassins, in this game, they have Rek'Sai, they have Fizz. Perfect. As you saw through this clip, they would have fucking blown me up if I didn't have Trinity Force, right? Trinity Force actually allowed me to outplay, you know, move around, stuff like that. So that's another pro. Now, moving on to cons, it spikes terribly, all right? It spikes horribly. Your first item feels like shit. And then your second item starts to kind of feel a little bit better, but only if you're ahead. And then your third item is really where you start to feel it, right? So it doesn't spike well in a lot of cases, right? Like, for example, what I mean by this is if you build Kraken first item, and you hit it, you're gonna feel a spike. If you hit Kraken Gwinsu's, you're gonna feel a spike. This build, you don't really feel a spike, you feel tankier, right? So if enemies are focusing you and you survive, you're like, yes. But that doesn't really feel satisfying and it doesn't really fit his character. Another con which doesn't really represent the build, but it represents more of just how League works, Akshan doesn't really strive from being tankier, right? He strives from actually just going in, killing someone, hoping no one targets him, and he swings out or goes back in, stuff like that. You guys obviously know the Akshan plays, but he cannot utilize bruiser stats as well as other champs, right? So for example, Kindred, Vayne, they have DPS amplifiers, they have bullshit mechanisms that allow them to pump out a whole lot more damage than Akshan, whereas Akshan you will feel as if you lose damage, right? But once again, the pro of being able to survive, sometimes that is invaluable, right? If they have a lot of assassins, chances are you going full damage, you're gonna get blown up, right? Especially if you're behind. So that's the pros and cons of this build. This is why this is my top 3 build. Someone in TikTok said I'm literally gaslighting or coping that Trinity Force is fucking good on Akshan. Come on, it is insanely overtuned right now. This is why this is my top 3 build. Moving on to my second build, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be... Now, this is like a blanket build, right? Because Lord doesn't know how to fucking finish this build off. But the blanket build, this is just your regular on hit. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Regular on hit with Kraken, Gwinsu's, that's your 2 core, and then you can go basically whatever. Now, in this one, which is very interesting, and I do need more playtesting, I did utilize PD. You're just gonna see the play real quick.
Way about playing me, Chad.
Insane. I mean, what else do I really have to say, guys? It speaks for itself, right? Now, what I will say is you can probably just do this with Kraken, Gwinsu's, and Wits in a lot of cases, but PD actually does add a lot of kiting capabilities, and you just get insane plays like this, which is obviously invaluable. But the main thing that I want to showcase to you guys is just Gwinsu's on hit. Akshan, once again, what I mentioned earlier is true. If you go on hit pre-item changes versus now, it's night and day which one's better, right? But this one has capabilities. Now, let's move on to pros and cons. Pros, not even really addressing PD, but addressing just the core on hit of Kraken Gwinsu's. The pros, DPS. This is going to be your highest DPS build. And once again, I'm gonna say it, you're going to notice that you're not doing as much damage as before. That's just fundamentally, mathematically correct based on the fact that Kraken's nerfed, based on the fact that Gwinsu's giving dumb-ass AP shit. Like, it's terrible. But yeah, that's number 1. You're gonna have the highest DPS with this build. Number 2, you're going to be able to kite. Regardless if you go PD, regardless if you go Wits End, you're going to kite. This is going to give you a lot of attack speed that Akshan utilizes very nicely with his one-hit passive. So you're going to be able to kite. Number 3, it spikes relatively well. Kraken is, from my testing, the best first item. By far. Despite it being nerfed, despite it being completely dog water in terms of gold efficiency now, it is still the best starting item. So you're going to feel that spike once you get Kraken. Then you're going to feel the spike once you get Gwinsu's because it's completely amplifying everything. So the spikes that you hit, the power spikes, you're going to feel it, and that's obviously really good. Moving on to the cons, despite it spiking, you're still fucking weak at 2 items. Like, you're not going to have a whole lot of damage to kill specific champions, and I mean, that just comes with the item changes, right? You're losing out on quite a bit of damage. So that's obviously a con. Second con, it is very, very expensive to actually spike, and in the sense in a meaningful way. For example, all these on-hit items are extremely expensive. Once you get a collection of on-hit items, for example, 3 to 4, you're going to be really strong. But before then, yes, you're going to be strong in terms of the spiking curve of items. You're not actually going to be able to like 1v2, 1v3 type shit, which is pretty important. And you know, plays a part. So the items that you're building with this sort of thing is quite expensive, which is definitely a con. And the last con is simply, I mean, I already said it, but like, it's just the damage, man. The damage feels so ass. I don't know, man. Damage just feels ass. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not a huge fan of this build, but just on the premise that Akshan mains have success on this build, stuff like that, it's definitely going to have to be in my top number 2. But once again, I play tested it. It feels alright at best. Outplay potential is there, and I genuinely like Phantom Dancer a lot in this build. But other than that, if you fall behind on this, good luck, have fun, man. You're not playing League of Legends. I'm gonna be honest, dude. Might as well build fucking Everfrost and offer utility. That's all I'm gonna say. If you fall behind with on hit, good luck. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now we move on to my personal favorite build of this current patch, of this current time of recording, and personally what I think is the best, most consistent build that you're going to be able to get out of this champion. It is going to be the regular OG crit build. So this is Kraken, Collector, and IE. Let's watch.
My penta. First penta of the new fucking items. Chase him, chase him. Fun.
Alright.
Give me my penta look.
I apologize for the shitty ass resolution. What the fuck is this res? But anyways, do I need to say more? This is just going to be your highest DPS build. Or not DPS, but highest burst, just damage in general build. This easily out damages on hit, and if you get more ease, right? So yeah, moving on to pros. Just listing real quick the damage, as mentioned. It's very self-explanatory, guys. The damage, the spike is also even better than the other build because you're going Kraken into Collector, which is just bonkers of value, and to IE, right? Every single item spikes. Really strong, and then once you get 3, it's like fucking Exodia, dude. You just instantly one-shot everyone, but okay, and then the other pros is you can actually slot in and be able to deal with tanks, which I should have mentioned in the on-hit one, but that pro of on-hit is you can technically deal with tanks, but I didn't want to put it in there just because I feel as if it's a lie. Because you're not dealing much damage to tanks, I'm gonna be honest, if you go on hit. Whereas this, you can slot in Kraken into LDR, or you can do Kraken, Collector, LDR, IE, or go LDR after IE. Like, it's very flexible, and there's a lot of like min-maxing type shit that you can do. But the fact is, this item is just your highest DPS for killing squishies, which in my opinion is Akshan's identity. I classify Akshan as an assassin that looks to kill squishies, trade, stuff like that, and this build does it best for me. Now moving on to cons, there are very little. The first one, which isn't really even like necessarily a con, I think it's just more of a champ, but if you do fall behind, you are going to fall below the curve and not impact as much. Now notice how I say not impact as much. On the on-hit build, you're fucking not playing League of Legends. This one, it's like a little bit less. You're still dealing damage. It's just, obviously, as you saw in the clip, like, it's just a breeze, right? When I'm so ahead, having items, stuff like that. When I'm on timers for the power curve, it hits. But if you do end up falling behind, it's going to hit a little bit less, so that is, like, a little bit of a con. Second con is technically speaking, dealing with tanks is going to be a little bit harder. But once again, I don't associate Akshan as a tank killer. And if you associate Akshan as a tank killer, I don't think you're playing the right champ, in my personal opinion. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys find the right build for you. Once again, guys, keep experimenting, keep testing around. Even with these 3 builds that I kind of laid out for you guys, experiment around, right? If you want to try, for example, Kraken Triforce into, I don't know, like Edge of Night or something, like, go for it, right? There's no set in stone as to what is the best and what isn't currently, just because there are so many varieties of itemization and build optimization just for Akshan. So anyways, that is it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Chen out.